afternoon, everyone. Music Scene Investigation is on the air. Glad you're with us today. Rich Wildman here. I'll be your host, as always, working the knobs and all that cool stuff. I usually screw it up, so, bear with me. But anyway, we're glad you're with us today. Hope you have a great Mother's Day. It is Mother's Day out there, so happy Mother's Day to you, yours, and my mom, too. Talked to her a little earlier today. She was, it is.
It's not here.
It is. Yeah.
No, it's not.
World over.
No, March here in the UK.
Well, I just moved it to May.
Tough. It's not working.
Yes.
Sorry, I've done all this. I'm bored now.
Well, anyway, I'm going to say Happy Mother's Day to my mom. So Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what we do here at MSI, it's very simple. We bring in a panel of music industry experts to review indie artist music. We do it every week. We're happy to do it. We do it free of charge. No one will ever have to pay a dime to have their music reviewed on MSI. And if you want to have your music reviewed, very simple. Head over to MusicSceneInvestigation.com. Hit up the Submit a Song link at the top of the page and submit your music there. Like I say, easy. Easy, simple, and we love to have you do it. Our panelists this week, our same two in-house panelists as always join us, Ian Husbands, Tom Chianti. Ian, how are you today, sir? Glad to see you.
I'm good, Rich. How's things there?
Things are doing really well here. It's hot, hot, hot.
No, it's been a nice-ish day here, enough for the kids to get out in the garden, which was nice.
Yeah, we've got a little rain today, but not too bad other than that. So it's you got rid of the pox yet?
Yes, that's pretty much all recovered now. But I am quite excited this week, Rich.
Excited? Why so?
Hit list.
Yeah, I heard that rumor, and it's unsubstantiated and can't confirm it yet.
We can't, but we can tell people that there is another show for MSI Radio in planning, where every month we'll be taking our Song of the Week artists and putting them through the mill again, in some sense of form, to come out with a winner for the month, which will actually be given prizes.
Yeah, prizes. I've heard, again, this is all unsubstantiated rumor, to include gear. To include PR packages, radio play, website promotion, interviews, and so forth and so on. So, unsubstantiated rumor, I'm just saying.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. You'll have
you've heard.
You what? What's that, Tom?
So you've heard.
Yeah, so we've heard. Exactly. By the way, Tom, glad to have you here all the way from New York City. How are things in New York?
New York is fine, thank you, Rich. It's a beautiful spring day, which I have been doing my best to avoid, staying in studio, still fighting pneumonia. I can't believe this. This thing is worse than a 24-hour marathon.
Well, the quickest way and easiest way to get rid of pneumonia?
Oh, what's that? Just
don't
die?
Catch it in the first place.
Well, this is true. I'm going back in time. I'll see you yesterday.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out then. Now, our thanks, Tom. Our guest panelist is our 2011 Artist of the Year, Jaguma, or otherwise known as Neil Porter. Neil, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here on camera for the first time.
Thanks, Rich.
Now, you are our 2011 Artist of the Year. How shocked were you when you heard about that?
Not quite as shocked as I was when I heard that there's prizes soon. That was a bigger shock. But, it was a bit of a surprise.
Now, you've been a musician for quite a while. Why don't you give everybody a little bit of background on how you started out with music and just a little bit about how it progressed and where you're at now.
Wow, you need a really good memory for that. I started playing in my teens, I suppose, but playing sort of in a semi-pro setup in Sydney in Australia, and mainly country rock. Went for a while, got fairly good, got some support gigs which were pretty amazing, and then left the country, went to Europe for 12 months, drove around, came back, didn't play music again for about 25 years, and I'm in a renaissance, as they say.
Yeah. Now, when I went out earlier and looked up your profile, read your profile. In fact, read a couple of different profiles. It seems you were started out with guitar, worked your way into bass, and now we were just talking prior to going on air. You've gone back to guitar and doing vocals now. So
yeah,
quite a varied musical background here. I mean, what first of all, what made you pick up the guitar again as opposed to staying with the bass?
Well, it's all to do with Mac Jams, and I referred to them a lot last time I was on. But I discovered Mac Jams and discovered GarageBand, and realised that it was interesting. So I started trying to write a few songs, and found out that I could actually do that fairly easily, and some of them sounded all right. And to do that, you need to play something other than bass. So I switched to guitar, and then, as I explained to you before we came on air, it's pretty hard to to play bass while you're using the sorts of chords that I use, because nobody else seems to be able to manage, or nobody else that I'm in touch with knows how to manage the weird chords that I use. So I just ended up playing guitar instead.
Now, when you write your music, first of all, I think that Geddy Lee might have a little argument with you about the whole music writing thing while playing bass, but I'm not going to go into that. Writing music for you, what's your process? Like I say, we had you as Artist of the Year in 2011 because of the music you submitted to MSI. Great music, by the way. You Got Me Spinning Around was the name of the track. What was the process that went into putting that track together?
I can't remember that one precisely, but generally I come up with a little riff of some sort, and see how many weird chords I can fit into it, and record that with a drum track, just a loop track, and then slowly build it up, and then eventually I pull the drum track out and put in MIDI drums, which I often play direct in, or sometimes use a MIDI loop and modify it pretty dramatically. And then once I've got the music together, lyrics will come in. Sometimes they come in while I'm actually in the process of writing. It sort of varies every time. At the moment, I'm having trouble writing anything much, but that's okay. There's no rush.
Now, as an indie artist in Australia, what's the scene like where you are? Whenever we have people from different parts of the world, we try and figure out what it's like there for indie artists out and about. So what's it like down there where you're at? And where are you specifically in Australia?
Where I am is really not a it's no sort of example of anywhere. I'm 500 kilometres south of Sydney and about 600 north of Melbourne. I'm right on the coast on the New South Wales Victorian border, and literally right on the coast. I look out and I see the view out my window of the ocean. Here it's small. I'm in a small village of about maybe 1,000 people, and we've also got within the area this. It's a really small population, so maybe 10,000 within 30 k's in any direction. We've got some fantastic mentoring programs going on with people my age, much more experienced than I am, doing a lot of mentoring with young people. So a lot of what I see happening here at the moment is we've got, older people, and some of whom are playing with us in our sort of garage band called Pangula Beach Garage Band. You can look it up on Mac Jam's PBGB. There's amazing young talent here. I was looking last night at a young guy called Kim Churchill, and I really strongly suggest you look him up and look at some of his YouTube things. He went to the school up the road and was mentored by one of the local, or a couple of the local pro musos. There's a really good young people scene happening. I think locally, there's no money in it for them, but just getting some experience, and some of them are breaking out and doing, amazing things with their instruments and their writing and their vocals and presentation and everything. It's sort of a young person's scene. There's also a bunch of us old people rushing around doing a lot of gigs. I'm not one of them at the moment, but that's going to change soon, hopefully.
Now, I know that looking over your presence out on the web, I see you're a member of virtually every music site on the web. You've done a lot of collaborations. I went through your Mac Jams playlist. You've got collaborations just down the list. I mean, tons of them.
Yeah, there's over 100, I think.
Yeah. Now, when you do collaborations, what's the process that you guys use in your collaborative works? How do you get the files back and forth, things like that? Just determine who does what and so forth.
There's two sorts of collaborations. I do some of the ones that I initiate, and others are other people's songs. Usually it's we work initially with an MP3 to see whether the other person is actually interested or not. So if I'm sending something out, it'll be a roughed up basic track with all. I usually play all the tracks on the demo, and then send it out and see who's interested, and I send it to specific people that I know I can depend on. And from then on, we usually work with AIFs through Dropbox, and that seems to work brilliantly. We even did a video which you can find again on the Mac Jam site, which is the easiest one to access. A song called "Safe Hands," and with that we did a video. But on the same basis, we each did our audio parts while we were videoing it, and then I put the whole thing together into a video of the song with I think there was 7 of us playing on it. It's quite. I was really pleased with it. It was a special event, and there's some amazing players on Mac Jams, and they actually agree to do stuff for you for nothing. It's amazing. Why they'd even bother.
I found out that a lot of that goes around on the internet. Now, in your home studio, actually, I don't know if you have a home studio or not, or if you go to a studio when you do your recordings. How do you put your recording? Okay, in your home studio, what software do you use? What's the process you use to put things together? Because it definitely has a different sound than some of the stuff we hear in home studios.
Look, it's I use Logic Pro for all of my sound, and I always use Ozone, which I think is the magic ingredient. I've used them both for a long while now, and I understand how I can get the best out of Ozone. I can't explain it to anyone. I've been trying to set a friend's studio up for him and explain how Ozone works, but I can't. It's a sort of a black art, I think, getting the sound that I get. I'm using an analog preamp interface, an old Behringer thing, which I think is also responsible in part for the specific sound I get in my own studio. We've also got a band studio where we rehearse, and we're using, again, Logic Pro and PreSonus Fire Studio project, which is a brilliant bit of gear. It took us 18 months to figure out how to get it to work, but once we got it working, it was amazing. So there's nothing special. It's just, I don't know. It's just something I seem to have a knack to do, which is really good. I go for as big a sound as I can get without ever letting anything go into the red. I think that's the secret of, and giving everything a bit of space, making sure it's all panned so that nothing's hogging anything else, and EQ'd as well so that there's space for all the different instruments.
All right. Well, let me ask you one more question before we get down to the business of today. You mentioned that there's a lot of younger people in the area in which you're living in, that a lot of people are mentoring and things like that. What advice would you have for younger indie artists that are just getting started and want to try and figure things out?
Yeah, from experience and from watching what's going on with the young people here, I really think it's critical to learn to read music. And personally, you know, even if you're a guitarist, I think learning to play keyboards, you know, getting lessons is a huge benefit. That you know, in terms of starting out, I reckon, you know, working up to your looking at it like building up to a profession. You know, it's dramatically important to be able to read these days. You know, that's the main thing, and also get good mentors if you can. You know, some of we've got a young guy here called Cade Brown. He's a jazz pianist, and he's been offered a spot at the Julian Music School in New York, I think. I mean, he's only 16, and he's absolutely frighteningly good. And he's got his trio is 2 players, a bass player and a drummer, who are both in their 60s. But they're really, really, you know, among the best that I've ever seen, these guys. And they're dragging this, well, now this guy's dragging them with him. But, you know, having good people to play with early on, doing your homework, you know, working hard at it, I think it's not an easy game, as we all know. Right.
I definitely agree with you. It's not an easy game. Well, Neil, we appreciate you being on with us today, and tell you, I think it's going to be a treat having you on, as always with Ian and Tom. It's a treat having them on as well. Don't want to leave them out and make them mad. You know how it is.
Why not?
I was just fixing my hair.
Which one?
The left one.
The left one. All right, guys, we do have some music to listen to today, and want to get you guys to review it, of course. So if everybody's ready, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get started by taking a listen to song number 1 on today's MSI. Here it is, everyone. Here is song number 1. And there's song number 1 on today's MSI. It goes by so quickly when you're not paying attention. Let's go to Ian and find out what he thought. Ian, what do you think of track number 1?
I mean, this should be the sort of song that grabs me and I want to listen to. It's sort of kind of genre I love, the sort of big heavy guitars and that. But I found the mix on this all over the place. It was very dry to start with. I found the mix. The guitars were very brittle. In fact, the whole mix was very toppy. And it was dominated, unusually for a song on MSI, by the drums and the vocals. And to be honest, I'm not sure if I like the vocal or not. It sort of started off well, but then didn't go anywhere and was just the same all the way through, very monotonous. There were some great performances on this. I mean, the people who recorded the drums and the guitar solos especially, I thought they were very, very good. The solo was too low in the mix. The drums are too loud in the mix, but the performances in general were pretty good. Overall, the song didn't really do much for me, to be honest. It was very meh. It's a rocking tune, but it didn't really go anywhere, do anything, or grab me. Didn't find the lyrics that engaging, didn't find the voice that engaging. And I think from that point of view, it does need a lot of work. Yeah, I mean, good performances, good enough groove, holds the attention, but mix all over the place. It sounded, with the mix, and Tom will probably correct me on this if I'm wrong, but it sounded like they'd scooped it sounded like they'd scooped all the mids out. It was all sort of top end and bottom end, and no mids in the guitars or the vocals, and everything was a bit thin. And there was a vocal effect that came in about 2:30, sort of, where it went stereo and sort of panned throughout the mix as he held the note. Frightened, I think the lyric was, and that was really harsh on my ears. It sort of again swept out the whole mix, and there was some unpleasant frequencies in that vocal. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
Now, answer the Now Nows thing. He says the tone of the lead guitar sounded exactly like our MSI theme.
I disagree. I think the tone on the lead guitar on the MSI theme is a lot richer and warmer, and I think, I can see it, maybe the sound that they were going for is very similar, but I feel that it's very thin, the sound on this recording.
All right. Well, there you have it. Thank you, Ian. Let's go to Tom, find out what he thought on track one. Tom, what do you think?
I agree a lot with what Ian said. The vocal sound, I wasn't pleased with. That stereo panning left-right gets to be distracting. The drums and the vocals were at a good level. With the mids scooped out or too many multiple effects on the guitars, it sounds too distant, too far away, too thin, too tiny, too little. And it was playing a lot of great riffs. And it was, you could hear it, but, it would be like standing in a room and then having the guitarist, 100 feet away, where you could hear him, but you could barely see him, and it made for a very unbalancing feel. That scoop feeling, a lot of compression on everything. The track should and will come together better when the guitars are brought forward. I think that the vocals and the drums are at a good level. Seriously, it's just that the guitars are just too distant, and they need to be brought up front. And the vocal sound, I would much more like an in-your-face mono type of vocal. That doesn't really dominate the mix, so that when it was like a war of words and stuff between the drum riffs and the vocal riffs. They got to figure out who's going to be busy and where. And I think the drummer did a great job of playing. He may have overplayed a little bit, especially with that double kick. But it sounds like it was trying to be a rocker, and it just missed the mark because of the mix. And as Ian said, the vocal performance was good, but it was monotonous and very monotonish.
All right. I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you very much. Let's now talk to our Artist of the Year 2011, Neil Porter. Neil, what do you think of track one?
This is this is similar to something I've just been mixing for in some way. The thing that struck me, and I agree with what Ian and Tommy both said, the thing that struck me with this is that it's not a round sound. It's a really harsh. There's lots missing in the sound, and I'm just wondering what it would sound like with some a different approach to the mix. There was something about the drums that bugged me, and I was focusing more on the drums than anything else during this, because I was trying to figure out whether it was a loop or a number of loops spliced together, or whether it was real drums. At times during the verse, there was a repetitive sort of triplet on the hi-hat that you knew was coming around every verse, and it got really depressing. Then at some of the fills at the end, there were what sounded like a stumbling sort of live player, and so I was concentrating on that. I reckon the drums could have lifted this if they were played more I don't know, live. I think I won't put money on them being loops, but I think they probably were. It would have been nice to feel the drums flow, and I think that would have lifted everything else. I also think I agree with everybody about the guitar should have been much bigger in the mix, and I always listen for the bass as well, obviously. And I don't know, there was again the bass sounded weak, and for this style of music, I thought the bass sounded, it should have been much beefier. A nice big strat, precision sound would have. Would have lifted this, but yeah, it's nice song. Vocals, not my favourite sort of style of vocals, but well done in the genre. I honestly don't. If I'd have been mixing this, I would have certainly tried to get it sounding a lot fuller than what's happened here. But it's fine. It'd be interesting to hear some of their other stuff.
All right. I appreciate that, Neil. Thank you very much. And let me introduce that track to everybody. That track is called Strange Life. Strange Life by a group called RizRocks. RizRocks with Strange Life. We appreciate them sending that in to MSI. And again, I want to remind you, if you have a song you want reviewed by our panel, all you have to do is go to MusicSceneInvestigation.com and click on that Submit a Song button. Very easy to do. All right, gentlemen, we have two more tracks to listen to. Let me get you to go ahead and listen to track number 2 as we play it for our audience on today's MSI. Here it is, everyone, track number 2 on today's MSI.
Come on, mate. As I open my eyes where I lay, I need hope to get out of bed, so I pray. But I can't think of what it is I have to say, cause in my heart I'm thinking it's just another day. A million things for me to do, yet to be done, but nothing new. Same old, same old, same old, same old day. Not enough work, but way too much play. And I think, so what am I gonna achieve? Cause many ideas I have thought have yet to be conceived, all laying there, built into a massive heap. I wanna go back to bed, cause the only place I'm living the dream is in my sleep. I'm riding solo, kinda like the Rolo. Let me go out on a limb, compare myself to this violin. I feel like when I'm starting to go off, Everyone picks this time to say it's time to go up. When I said so low, I didn't mean like a low, but so low, like I'm flying below my target zone. I'm optimistic, I know tomorrow's gonna be brighter, and I know I'll persevere, cause you know I'm a fighter. Many trailing behind me, like I was the Pied Piper, and you know I'm on the right road, cause homie I'm a rider. But don't get it twisted, I won't change anything about the now, cause it's helping me write the story of who, when, and how.
And song number 2 on today's MSI is up to Tom first. Tom, what do you think of track number 2?
I think it lacks in the mix. It really lacks in production. The mix overall sounded empty-ish. The string sound was really bothering me. I didn't like the choice of sound. And the kick drum, which was definitely, a drum program, it was basketball sounding. This lacks from weight. There was no low lows in the mix. There was bottom end, but it was upper bottom end. Around 200 hertz or so. It really needed some deep 50 hertz on that kick. And the bass, I kind of liked the bass, but everything sounded too pre-programmed, computerized, and stiff. It didn't flow. And Another Day, which I'm gathering might be the name of the song, was too upfront in the mix and sounded like he overdubbed them way too many times than necessary, but they were done tight, or it's just a vocal effect gone wild. So basically, the mix was lacking, the production was lacking, the subject matter, I was actually very distracted by the disjointed mix, so I didn't really catch what he was saying much, even though the vocals were up front and everything. Again, it suffers from similar problems of the first song. Close Encounters of the First Kind, not enough frequencies in a mix.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you very much. Let's go to Neil, find out what he thought. Neil, what do you think of track number 2?
Again, a song, a style of music I probably wouldn't normally listen to, although I've been picking up a bit more of it recently. I hate to be really dull, but Tom hit a few of the things that I was concerned about. The kick was the thing. I've spent a lot of time doing MIDI drum tracks for my own stuff, and my approach is to make them as real as possible, so that it could be a drummer, and a lot of the time, that's the whole point, is to get them to sound like it's a drummer. The kick was just awful on a number of levels. I thought it sounded so thin and it wasn't there, and that double kick thing where it was coming in, it was just wrong. You know, any drummer worth his salt would not even consider playing that. Maybe I'll be caught out here and this will be some very specialised genre-specific approach, but I don't think so. If the kick had been simplified a lot, I think that would have improved the song enormously. I didn't mind I like the variation. I like the way it came in with the strings and the vocals sort of sent out to both sides, and that worked okay for me at the start. And I thought, oh yeah, okay, this will be good. And then I found it sort of ground down. It just sort of became very tedious. And in the little bit of the lyrics that I did concentrate on, I picked up, sort of this optimistic sort of vibe, but that wasn't the vibe that happened with the music, to me anyway. The strings were thin, bass could have been, maybe up a bit. What else did I write down? I wrote some things down. It was good to have a bit of variation. I think the first song suffered from just sort of going, full tilt without any light and shade. This one at least had some variation, so you moved between the stringy bits with the spread vocals and the talking bits. It shows my age, doesn't it? But needed some more guts, I think, is the best way to describe it. Again, probably sitting down with someone that knew how to produce wouldn't be a bad idea for the person that's put this up. Running through it. So nothing jumped out at me to think this is a song I want to listen to again.
Okay, I appreciate that, Neil. Thank you. And let's find out. I know the first thing Ian's going to say, but we'll find out what he's going to say. Here is Ian. Ian, what do you think?
Go on, predict the first thing I'm going to say.
You hated the fade.
Well, that goes without saying these days, Rich. To be honest, I'm a bit more optimistic about this track than the other guys. Yeah, I mean, the MIDI sounds were cheap across the board. The drums, the synths, the organs, the strings, the cello. It was all a little bit not quite realistic enough for my liking. But I did like the groove, and I did like the way the vocalist sat on the groove with the vocals. The Another Day bit was as annoying as hell. It was too loud, as Tom said. It was too layered. Too much stereo panning going on, and it just obliterated everything else every time it came in. But the actual rap that the guy was doing, that laid-back summer groove, almost had a sort of Will Smith approach to it in some ways, I really, really liked. And I think, that the rapper has got some talent there. Lyrically, it wasn't mind-blowing, but it certainly wasn't some of the worst stuff I've heard. It was pretty good from that point of view. But the mix was all over the place, and I think the mix was all over the place purely down to the fact that it was MIDI everything, and it's always hard to get that sounding realistic and sounding to a point where I would put something out.
All right, appreciate that, Ian. Thank you, and we'll take a couple of seconds to introduce that track to everyone. Track number 2 was from a group called KingMusic, with, as you said in the chat room, Another Day. Another Day with KingMusic. All right, everybody, let's see if we can have number 3 played for everybody. What do you say, guys? You ready for track number 3?
Let's listen.
Okay.
All right, here it is, track number 3 on today's MSI. And there it is, song number 3 on today's MSI. Let's go over to the guys and find out what they thought. Let's start this time with Neil. What do you think, Neil? Track number 3.
Yeah, I like this. I recognise some of the bits in it. The Middle Eastern vocal, I think, is some loops that have come out in the last 6 months or so. But what I really there's a couple of things I like about this, and there's not much I don't like about it. I really like the mix. It's really rich. It's got depth. The bass is a bass. There's great panning. Everything's got a place that comes in and out. There's repetitive themes, which are good ones. There's some nice stops and a whole heap of good things. It's really easy to throw loops together or to do MIDI type stuff, and this could be a band. I don't know, but I don't think so. But it's done. What they've done is really clean, and it's got. I don't know. I love the richness of the sounds. I like the groove is really good. It's just really interesting to me. I can relate to this pretty well. I can imagine. I can almost feel the process that was going on when they were putting this together. The way they've used percussion really sparingly. The only thing that bugged me, and again it's a drum thing, was that cymbal that came in on the 4 at the beginning. Was a nice percussive idea, but I think it was the wrong instrument. I think probably an open hat or I don't know, closing hat or whatever might have worked a bit better. But yeah, I thought this was very nicely done.
All right, Neil, appreciate that. Thank you very much. Let's find out what Ian thought. Ian, what do you think of track number 3?
I think this is a very well produced and very well mixed track, but I wouldn't really say it's a song just yet. I mean, it is really well done. There's some really nice elements to it. I like the use of the sort of Middle Eastern chant there, or is it an Indian ragga or something like that? The groove was lovely, really sat nicely together. The bass sounded great, and I like that sort of not reggae, but sort of dub sort of sound it had to it. But was it me, or was that guitar stab that comes in initially in the wrong key or something? It seemed to clash with everything else that was going on. I didn't like that. And the thing that this really lacked for me was some sort of dynamic step up. It just kept on that sort of same beat. And I wanted it to sort of get strong. I wanted a 4 to the floor kick coming in. I wanted to hear sort of more of that groove coming up and building, and then sort of coming back down and sort of giving the track that dynamic. I mean, initially my first thought about this would sound really great if it had that sort of Robert Smith, Curie, or Trent Reznor type of vocal on top of it. It would fit brilliantly on something like the Crow soundtrack that was out. It's got that sort of vibe to it. So I definitely think there's a really good idea here. And I agree with Neil, that little cymbal coming in, was it like a hi-hat or something like that? It was too loud in the mix, and it got very distracting after a while. Yeah, it is, for what it is and how they've done it, it's very, very well done. Good sonic palette, strong mix, nice tones, everything's sort of sitting there nicely, but I didn't feel the arrangement and the dynamic of the track was there.
All right, appreciate that, Ian. Thank you. Let's go to Tom, find out what he thought. Tom, number 3?
Well, the track definitely was a lot deeper and richer than what we've heard before. It was pretty clear. I agree with Ian that I wish the track had gone somewhere dynamically, or the vocal come in a little bit more. I think there was just way too much delay on the vocal sample. In fact, it's supposed to sound effective, I know, but it just smeared the singer's riff, and I wanted to hear that more clearly. The mix is almost there. You know, it's a good start. the drum machine kick, when it went into the first change, I was liking the groove and everything, and then the first change came in, and it was like a curtain was ripped down and said, aha, it's all MIDI, and that sort of made me dislike it a little. It had definitely the best sound of the day. As Neil said, the bass was a bass, and there was low frequencies and a nice sonic palette, as Ian had said. But yeah, it's arranged well, but it's lacking. It's not there yet. It's lacking interesting, something hooky, something that would make you want to come back and listen to it again. As it stands now, it would be something that you would hear in a club late night or a dark club, and it would just set a nice mood for talking, partying, or whatever, what have you. But it definitely needed a course change, maybe a key change, maybe a build-up, as Ian said, more dynamics. The hi-hat is, I've got the same thing to say as everybody. It's good. It's very well started, as opposed to very well done.
Okay, all right, Tom, thank you. And before we get to song selection for the Song of the Week, that song you just heard was Shimmer by SBJ. SBJ was Shimmer, so we appreciate them sending that in to us here at MSI. Now, gentlemen, as we do every week, I'm going to throw you guys together in a ring. You can fight it out, talk it out, however you want to do it, but you have to select a Song of the Week. So I leave it to you to do just that.
Well, I'm going to throw something out there straight away before I even make a decision. I mean, remember, guys, we are voting on Song of the Week. And as much as 3 is probably the best mixed and produced, is it really a song? Yet.
Yeah, I'm kind of struggling between 3 and 1.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, basically.
1 is despite it suffering from its mixed laxatives, it's essentially a well-structured and put-together song, finished.
And some good performances as well.
Yeah. That stuff was primarily from its mix. The second one was just a little too amateurish for this bunch. Didn't quite make the cutoff. And the third one I liked because it set a mood, but it's not finished. Like I said, it's well started, not well done. So despite its lack of frequencies, I'm going to have to go with number 1.
I think if you're looking at if we're supposed to decide on a song, to me the only song is number 1. I thought number 2 certainly isn't in the race. Sound-wise, if we were after production, I don't think there's any question that it's number 3. I'm probably still going to go with number 3 just because I thought there was too much wrong with the production on number 1. I thought number 3 really, if whoever's done number 3 could get together with maybe a real singer to come in and do some interesting things with it, I think it's a great step in the right direction. But I'll go with number 3 just mainly because I can't go with number 1.
All right, Ian.
See that? Yeah. I'm kind of at where the other guys are, and I'm unsure on this one. Number 3 was certainly the better production, certainly the better mix, technically the best song of the night. But I'm struggling as if it's a complete song, if it's got enough structure and if it's got enough arrangement and dynamics to sort of really keep attention for that long. Whereas the first one, you know, the performances are great. I'm gonna. Sorry, Neil. I'm gonna go with Tom.
That's okay.
Number one.
All right, well, there you have it. Appreciate you guys fighting it out there, but it looks like number one takes the day. Track number one, RizRocks, Strange Life, is our song of the week on this week's MSI. Neil, we appreciate you being on with us, man. It's always good to have a great musician, artist of the year on with us, so we appreciate that. Sorry for getting you up so early, though.
Yeah, I can go and have breakfast now. It's really good.
Well, like I
My wife
say,
will be just about getting up.
yeah, like I say, we didn't mean to get you up quite so early. Maybe next time
You could move.
Yeah, exactly. You can move, and you won't have to get up early then.
Well, it was interesting because last time I was on, it was 8 o'clock here and we've gone off daylight saving, and you've gone onto it, so it shoved it back 2 hours. So,
Right.
So that's the problem. Anyway, no, it's good. It's okay. I can get up early sometime.
There you have it. Well, we appreciate it, and hope to have you on again sometime real soon.
Yeah.
I hope you submit some more music as well. We'd love to hear.
Well, I've got a band track that I'd really like to put up that we've recorded with the band, so I might do that. But I won't tell you.
Yeah,
I won't tell you which one it is, though.
Okay. All right. It'll be a surprise. Ian, Tom, thank you as always. Appreciate you guys hanging out as well. And
Not a problem. I want to say, and the Now is saying in the chat, he said, great show, dudes. I've learnt not to make my hi-hats depressing. Every show is an education.
well, that's a good point. Good point to take home if you take nothing else home. We appreciate everybody out there coming and joining us as well. We'll be doing this again next week and every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and definitely hope you join us as well. Ian.
Who's next week, Rich?
I'm just going to ask you that.
It's Mr. Bill Evans of the Live to Play Network.
That's exactly correct. I'm glad you remembered.
There you go, you see. There you go, BHG. Bill Evans of the Live to Play Network will be on the show with us.
All right, well, we look forward to having Bill Evans on. Again, thanks to Neil Porter. Thanks to you for joining us. Happy Mother's Day, and we'll see you all again next time right here on Music Scene Investigation.
Fathers work hard too, you know.